we're gonna dive in, but let me just
Great.
say what I said a minute ago, Drew, which is I'm really excited to talk with you. And for those of you who don't know you, a couple things about you. One is you are the founder and grand poobah? Is that how you say it? What's the
Leader,
the-
head coach, maybe.
there you go. Of Husband Material, which can be found at husbandmaterial.com.
Yes.
If you don't know Drew and Husband Material, go there. It's a beautiful growing community of men who either are husbands, maybe desire to be husbands, but nonetheless want to be the kind of material of a man to be a good husband.
Right. So single, dating, or married, we are becoming husband material, which means sexually and emotionally mature men of God.
Love it. Love it. Good. And today specifically, we're going to talk about how you help men really decipher their fantasies so that they don't keep pulling them under and pulling them towards the unwanted sexual behavior, whatever it is for them. How do you, as you're, instead of me trying to frame it up for our listeners, how do you frame this up as you're coaching guys to begin this kind of work?
Well, we all have unwanted sexual attraction of some kind or another. Whether you think you have fantasies or not, there are very specific things that turn us on and that turn us off. And sometimes what we wish turned us on doesn't. And sometimes what we wish didn't turn us on does. And that's my story, especially when I hit puberty and started using pornography and masturbating. I got stuck in a sexual fetish for braces and orthodontics that I never understood. And I never told anyone. I was extremely ashamed about it. And that was really the deep, dark pull that never went away. Even after I had gained a lot of freedom from my behavior, porn still had power over me because of those fantasies and because of that fetish. So we need to be able to strip porn of its seductive power if we want lasting freedom and if we want to get to the point where it just doesn't appeal to you anymore. I know that might sound impossible, but that's what I've experienced. I know you have experienced much of the same. And we've learned a lot from our mutual friend, Jay Stringer, about this topic. And there's so much hope when what we are attracted to no longer controls us anymore.
Yeah. And the connection between shame and control is something that I think will probably become a little bit more clear for guys as we get into it. Men and women can benefit from this. But Drew, and what you're talking about too is like you describe having a fetish. Other people, they may not recognize whatever their sexual arousal or their fantasy as a fetish, but it doesn't matter because really, I mean, part of what unplugs the power of shame from whatever the unwanted attraction is, whether it's to a specific body part or a specific scenario, or a specific gender or ethnicity, et cetera,
age, older people, younger people.
Yeah. There's still connections to be made that can help to unplug that sexual arousal kind of movement from the stuff that got us there in the first place.
Yes. And we need to be very clear that the goal is never to remove sexual attraction or to try to change it in any way. That would be unethical and even unhelpful. Our goal is to understand so that we can heal.
So when you think about, so I use the phrase unplug, and I'm thinking kind of unplug the power of it, the draw of it, but just say a little bit more about like, because there are people listening going like, wait a minute, like I actually want to get rid of this attraction. Drew, didn't you want to get rid of this, the draw to braces and orthodontics? And are you saying that I can't be free from that? Like just unpack that a little bit. Like what's the difference between getting rid of it and no longer being controlled by it or overpowered by it?
Well, to borrow a concept from internal family systems, the sexual attraction and fantasy, whatever it is a part of you.
Hmm.
And it is a part that maybe has been misunderstood. It's been repressed. It's been ignored. It's been attacked. When you get to know this part of you, you will find out where it came from and why it's there and what it really has to offer you. God can speak to us through these different parts of us. And if we neglect them, we miss out on what he has to teach us. And as you know, the more we resist, the more we try to remove these things, the stronger they become.
Mm-hmm.
It only gives them more power when we try harder and harder to get rid of them. So here's the big difference between what I'm suggesting and what the typical approach to freedom from porn promotes. Usually in a lot of programs or other ministries that focus on trying to help people get free from porn, they are all about fighting a battle, battling your sexual thoughts and feelings. I'm asking you to befriend your sexual thoughts and feelings. Mm. Stop battling, start befriending. That doesn't mean you let them go wherever they want. It also doesn't mean you try to get rid of them. You befriend them like you would befriend a little child. Mm. Because the truth is, underneath these unwanted attractions, that part of you is young. Mm. There's a part of you that didn't get what you needed and then sexualized it to get a symbol of it or a version of it that became extremely attractive and powerful. So rather than the military approach, we're going to take the Mr. Rogers approach. I don't know if you can see my little Mr. Rogers figurine, but Mr. Rogers was all about loving and accepting you exactly as you are. Mm-hmm. It was an approach of tenderness rather than toughness. And that is what allows our young parts to grow up.
And I think people listening or watching will like, let me just say this. If you're listening and watching and you're thinking, I'm not comfortable with this, like we're talking about sin here. Like we gotta get after this stuff. Just hold on. I think you'll understand more of what Drew's saying. And if I could point to a couple kind of scriptural places that might help you to hold on and willing suspension of disbelief. One would be, think about Jesus with the woman at the well, who had a sordid past. We don't know if it was done to her or that she did it, but she was ostracized and really looked at as immoral. And that's how people treated her. They were harsh toward her. And we could surmise that from where she was drawing water at the well in the middle of the day, which was not a time that people did that. And Jesus' approach to her was really to appeal to her thirst. He was interested. He told her the truth about what she had done or what her situation was, but he was also he was tender with her, and he lowered himself, asking her for a drink, giving her a position of power, and appealing to her thirst, trying to draw. I mean, it was such a beautiful moment. Like he wants her to draw water from the well. He's wanting to draw her thirst out of her. And I think you'll see that in Drew. The other thing, I'm still playing with this idea, but I haven't found the source for this, but I understand that Aquinas taught that the deepest desire, the root of every desire, is actually love, meaning that God has made us for love. And so even our errant desires, our desires that point us in all sorts of different directions, the reason they even have any power is because deep down inside, that taproot is actually a desire for love, desire to love and to be loved. And so, and I think you'll hear that more in what Drew's about to say. So keep tracking. So Drew, let's dive in with, so you have three, let's see, you describe them as 3 points of suffering that fantasy tries to resolve. So yeah. Can you take us into the first one of those?
Yeah. So what is a fantasy? A fantasy, whether sexual or not, is asking the question, what if? What if animals could talk? What if death is not the end? What if we could travel into outer space? And a sexual fantasy is a way of taking our suffering and asking, well, what if that could become something good? What if I can take all the things I don't want or like in my life and transform them and wave a magic wand and say, poof, now you're something different. And I think our sexual fantasies do that. They turn fear into safety, shame into glory, and loss into connection. So the first one is our sexual fantasies turn fear into safety. This one, yeah.
Can I stop you real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Just so just to jump in real quick, just as an illustration, that idea of fantasy, and I think you guys, everybody listening, you can recognize this. You can recognize that this is already a reality. Like when you were a kid, just think about the times, like, there's a bully at school and you went home and you pretended to beat up the bully, or you pretended to be a superhero. I mean, you're using fantasy to try to enter in, to try to redo something, to try to, and maybe that one even clicks with that first one, like turning fear into safety. So
that's it. Yeah.
This is already a present reality in your life in all areas of fantasy. And it's equally true in your sexual fantasy. So yeah. So yeah, sorry to interrupt. I wanted to just kind of.
That's a great example. So let's say you were bullied as a boy. Maybe you have a sexual fantasy of putting you in the position of power. You're the one who gets to decide what happens. You're the one who has a voice and a choice. So that is reversing the dynamic of you being powerless, you being dominated. And for some men, that experience of bullying can translate into being attracted to a strong, powerful type of person. A powerful man who has a strong body, who can protect you, or the kind of man you would want to be so that you can protect yourself. For others, maybe you developed a negative association with men and were drawn to lesbian porn. There are no men in this sexual fantasy because for a man to be in it takes away safety. So every sexual fantasy has some kind of safety valve where a certain part of it means that I'm safe, whether I'm the one in power or the people who hurt me are not part of it, or perhaps it's not just a one-on-one sexual fantasy, but it's a threesome. Because if there's more than one person, then it's less likely that I'll be rejected. It's less vulnerable. Maybe there's an aspect of voyeurism. I think all porn is voyeuristic in the sense that you're looking into something that you're not a part of. And when you're in voyeurism, you get to be the observer. So it's keeping you safe from having to be involved. It keeps you a little bit more distant. So if you want to discover how might my specific sexual fantasy be providing a version of safety, ask yourself, when you were younger, how were you harmed? What were you afraid of? Is it possible that this fantasy could be protecting you from whatever that was? And for some, they might say, well, my sexual fantasy involves me being harmed. And in that case, we have to learn more to really understand what's going on. But in general, imagining something as a fantasy gives you a level of choice and control that you would not have had whenever you were being harmed. So it could be just the fact that fantasizing about this horrific harm that happened, still gives you a bit of distance from it and allows you to remember it, but be safe from it.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Part of my story, voyeurism was a huge area of fantasy for me and a part of my struggle, and even a part of the pornography that I would look at. And doing this kind of work helped me to connect some dots between there was a specific moment in junior high in the locker room where I was exposed and very ashamed, terribly scared, and deeply ashamed and deeply like just humiliated. And I thought it was going to be something that just, spread through the school. A guy was making fun of me and even came up to the lunchroom table when I was sitting with my friends afterwards and was just like, we got to tell everybody in the school about this. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to go back to the school. Never made the connection until beginning this kind of work to recognize like, oh, like it's safer for me to be the one on the outside who's looking in. Like they're not looking at me. They don't even know I'm there. I'm just outside looking in.
So it takes away the risk of being seen, of being exposed.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm calling a kind of sexual safety valve. Because without safety, there is no arousal. And you know this in the bedroom. If you have some kind of fear or obligation in your mind when you're trying to become sexual, it takes away the possibility of really becoming aroused. You have to have a sense that I'm safe. This is why for people recovering from pornography, you can't be having sex while you're not safe and the other person's not safe. So safety is huge. And yet at the same time, fear is almost synonymous with sexual arousal. If you look at the physical symptoms, when you're feeling afraid, what happens? Your heart starts beating faster. Your stomach tightens. Your palms might get sweaty. Your pupils dilate. It's arousal. And that fear pathway in our brain is very connected to that arousal and pleasure pathway. So whatever excites us or gets that charge up is probably going to relate to however your sexuality developed.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. All right. So there are two more. We're going to pause here and give people a chance to just digest that first one, explore whether or not that might be something for them. The next of the three next time.